All right. So our next presenter is Amy Hebl she's a wellness coordinator for Olmsted County. Yay.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, fabulous. So thank you for inviting me to present to you today. I am sorry that I did not make the trip to Buffalo, Minnesota to join you in person, but I very much appreciate the opportunity to be here with you virtually. You can also see on this title screen that Alan O'Malley Larson is listed. He is our employee well-being professional on our wellness team. If there's like a secondary version of virtual, like he's virtually virtual, if that makes sense, I have some recorded slides from Alan that are in this presentation. So you will also get a sense of some of the work that he does as well with our program. So I understand that you all want to be out of there by 3 o'clock. So I'm going to kind of work my way through the slides. And if I need to talk faster or skip something, I certainly will, but I'm happy to share my slides at the end. So we will just go ahead and dive right in. Let's see. Okay. So what I'm going to cover today, 3 main points. Give you a grounding of understanding how the workplace can impact mental health, learn how mindset and mindfulness can influence your personal resilience. You just did a couple of mindfulness activities with Erica, so you're kind of ahead of the curve here at this point. And then identify some strategies that you can take back to your teams. My assumption of you all is that you are either leaders within your organization or you have the ability to influence the culture within your organization. So hopefully we can identify some strategies for you to take back to your teams and implement or dabble with or give a try. So, but before we jump too far into it, I'm a fan of using Mentimeter. I don't know if you all have ever used this before, but this is the part of the presentation that you might have never experienced where a presenter says, take out your phones. Because I would like you to go out to menti.com, so www.menti.com, or you can scan the QR code that's up here and it'll take you right out to this site. But if you go out to menti.com and then it's going to ask you for this code if you're like typing it into a browser. And the first question, once you type in that code, is going to be, how are you feeling right now? And so as you're getting that ready, Mentimeter is a completely anonymous interaction type of tool that you can use with groups. So if you've never experienced this before, so you can be completely honest about how you're feeling, and I'm not going to know who said it. So if you say, I'm grouchy right now, or I'm really tired, or I'm having the time of my life, all of those things, I will not know who said it. This is just a means to get you to practice and see what the Mentimeter tool is if you've never used it before. So while you are doing that, then I'm going to see, there you go. Okay, so can you see what's happening based on what you're putting into the Mentimeter? Are you seeing a word cloud right now? Okay. Okay, so based on what's happening here, you all are, if you've never done a word cloud before, the biggest word that you see is the one that has been said the most. And so a lot of you are feeling tired. No surprise, it's right after lunch. So that is one of the benefits of Mentimeter, is to try to, if you're ever having to present, using Mentimeter will help you with keeping people engaged and participating in your presentation for these after lunch types of things. Also, if you weren't aware, you might see by Matt Miller that there should be some candy. So there's sugar coming your way shortly. So, and for those of you at home, hopefully you have brought some candy or a treat of some kind to your workstation. So if you are taking the candy right now, I'm going to ask you, now here's a willpower exercise. You didn't know this was going to happen. Don't eat it yet. Okay, so you got to hold on to it. Okay, and I appreciate that y'all are saying that you're also excited and bloated, quality lunch I'm seeing there. So, okay, so now we've got the gist of how to use Mentimeter. So let's talk about, let's see, there we go. Okay, So now let's talk about how workplace can impact mental health. So this information comes from the Office of the Surgeon General, and it's the 5 essentials of workplace mental health and well-being. And I will show you those 5 essentials here in a moment, but this is the foundation of that 76% of US workers reported at least one symptom of a mental health condition. That's not saying that they've been diagnosed. They're just saying that they have symptoms of a condition, and it's self-reported. 84% of the respondents said that their workforce conditions had contributed to at least one mental health challenge. That's a big number. And again, as leaders within your organization, you have the opportunity to have influence over this 84% of people. And then the final stat is 81% of workers reported that they will be looking for workplaces that support mental health in the future. So again, if you can take some of the things that we talk about today back to your organization, you're one step ahead, right, in supporting the mental health of your workplace. Okay, so now to look at the framework. I have no doubt that as you look at this on your screen, the type is exceptionally small. So again, I will be sending my slides, but you can Google this, right? 5 essentials for workplace mental health and well-being. Again, it comes from the Office of the US Surgeon General. The reason that I'm sharing this is that this is a relatively new framework that has come out, and it really emphasizes workplace mental health and well-being. And so as you dig into each of these realms, there are things that you potentially are already doing that you can call out at your organizations to say, hey, we're supporting our workers' mental health because we do these things. Or you can look at this and you can say, we could be doing more. And what would be some of those more things that we could do? As I go through the presentation, I'll kind of dig into the meat of it. I'm going to be focusing on 2 areas of this: the protection from harm and the mattering at work. And so I'm going to start with mattering at work. So what does that entail? It's providing a living wage, engaging workers in workplace decisions, building a culture of gratitude and recognition, and connect individual work with organization mission. So it's it's really that last bullet that I'm going to focus on with these next couple of points for you. Specifically, purpose at work. So there's a growing body of literature out there that says that if you can help, or if you as an individual can identify your purpose for your work, so what you do, and you can feel good about what you do and why you do that work, that's going to equal job satisfaction. So it's a pretty easy formula, right? Why are you doing what you do? And can you feel good about that why? If you can do that for yourself, you're going to have better job satisfaction at work. You might need to help your team members identify why they do what they do and help them to see the positives in that. That will increase their job satisfaction at work. So here's the test now. Okay, so here's virtual Alan.
It says that every one of us has a why, a deep-seated purpose, a cause or belief that is the source of our passion and inspiration.
Oops, sorry about that. I clicked and I shouldn't have touched anything. And now my sound won't play.
And it goes on to say every organization and every person's career operates on 3 levels as shown in this illustration: what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. And most of us know what we do, the products we sell, the services we offer, or the jobs that we do. And some of us know how we do it, the things that make us different or stand out from the crowd, or the procedures that we might have in place. But he would say very few of us can honestly, clearly articulate why we do what we do. It's not something that folks often think about. And in essence, what he says here is that the what we do and how we do it really flows out of the why. And the better understanding and appreciation we have for the why of what we do, or the purpose or the meaning of the work that we do, the greater that sense of job satisfaction as well. So we're going to do a little exercise to help look at that notion of why is it the folks in facilities management do the work that they do, and how critically important is that to the organization.
Okay, so I'm going to have you bring up your Menti again, your Mentimeter, and I am going to, let's see, yep, there we go, bring you to your next question. So I would like you to say why you do the work that you do. And as you type this in, you can use more than one word, but money kind of, that's a solid one. So doesn't need to say any more than that, right? Okay, so as these are coming in, interesting and ever-changing, contributing to your family, keeping customers happy. To get paid, money is a strong motivator, isn't it? Something I'm sure you're well aware as employees, but also as supervisors. You appreciate the challenge. You find it rewarding and gives a sense of accomplishment, relationship building. So as you're looking at these responses, I'll pick on relationship building because that resonates for me, quite honestly. But when you're talking to somebody about why do you do the work that you do, if relationship building is important to them, help them to make relationships, like to make those connections with people, create a space where that's possible. That will help them to have job satisfaction. So asking your team, why do you do what you do? And finding a way to connect that to their work will serve you and your team and the individual well. Support the organizational vision, enjoy the people I work with, provide a safe, clean, comfortable environment. Absolutely. And all of these things, again, when you think about the positives, you get kind of that, endorphin burst off of that because you're thinking good thoughts. So we are going to go to the next Menti question. And if you can share, in what ways does your work contribute to the success of your organization? Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so your responses are flowing in. I like this, keep the ship floating. When I think about the work that you all do in facilities management, you're our foundation. Like you do keep us going. And so there's a great deal of appreciation that comes from that, from people like me who use the facilities. And you help people to work in a safe, clean environment. Absolutely. If people feel safe when they're at work, that's huge. That's one worry off of their list for the day. Okay, so you can see you all are identifying ways to contribute to the success of your organization. So again, if you can go through this exercise collectively as a team, you can increase that job satisfaction and helping people to identify their purpose and why they're with the organization. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Okay. Moving forward. Okay, so let's talk about mindset. This is another pillar, if you will. If we're talking about purpose, we also need to talk about our mindset and how mindset can have impact. So even if you can identify your why that you're at work, if your mindset isn't right on any particular day, your job satisfaction is going to be lower, right? Like you're not going to be your best self. So mindset absolutely has an impact on your mental health and well-being. And I don't know, sometimes you hear the saying mind over matter, right? So mindset, here's a great example for me personally. I'm a terrible golfer. And I say that to myself every single time that I go out on the golf course. So what am I? I'm a terrible golfer. And so as I was golfing one day, I said, I'm going to try today. I'm going to do better. And I didn't really talk myself into it very well. And so I was still a terrible golfer because I didn't believe it. And I got really frustrated. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to hit this ball as hard as I possibly can. And I'm going to hit it right into the middle of that pond. And guess what I did? I hit the pond. Okay. So mindset, like I changed my mindset and I accomplished something awesome. Like I was so excited. I've never done it again, but I've never felt that way before. So, but what we say to ourselves and how we think about things absolutely has impact on our mindset. So again, we need to go back to our mind and how we think about things in order to advance our mental well-being. So to illustrate this is going to dig hopefully into some of the staff that you work with. We're going to watch a 4-minute clip of a TEDx video, and it's called Change Your Mindset, Change Your Game. And Dr. Aaliyah Crum is the speaker, and she talks about the impact of your belief system and the self-talk that we have and the physiological response that we have. This video is actually 20 minutes long, and she gives 4 different examples of a physiological response to our mindset. The clip that I pulled out is specific, I think, to your teams, perhaps, because it's talking about a group of housekeepers. When she talks about it, I get the sense that she's talking about like hotel housekeepers. But when you talk about a safe, clean environment, you are working with staff who are cleaning facilities. And so keep that in mind as you listen to the mindset of these employees that she interacted with. So let's see here. That needs to go away.
So what is a mindset? A mindset is quite literally a setting of the mind. It's a lens or a frame of mind through which we view the world. We simplify the infinite number of potential interpretations at any given moment. Now, the ability to simplify our world through our mindsets is a natural part of being human. But what I want to suggest to you today is that these mindsets are not inconsequential, and instead they play a dramatic role in determining our health and our well-being. So while I was at Harvard, I had the opportunity to work with Professor Ellen Langer. She's a professor of psychology, and when she heard that I was also a Division I athlete, laughed at me. She said, you know, exercise is just a placebo, right? Now, I was kind of offended because at the time I had been spending up to 4 hours a day training my body to be in optimal shape. But she did get me thinking about mindsets and how they might matter outside of medical walls. Was I getting fitter and stronger because of the time and the energy that I was putting into my training? Or was I getting fitter and stronger because I believed that I would? What about the other extreme? What if people were getting an extraordinary amount of exercise but weren't aware of it? Would they not receive the same benefit? We decided to test this, and to test this, we found a really unique group of women, a group of 84 hotel housekeepers working in 7 different hotels across the US. So these women are on their feet all day long. They're using a variety of muscles, and they're burning an extraordinary amount of calories just doing their job. But what's interesting is that these women don't seem to view their work in this light. We asked them, we said, do you exercise regularly? And 2/3 said no. So we said, okay, well, so on a scale of 0 to 10, how much exercise do you get? And 1/3 of them said 0. I get no exercise at all. So we wondered, what would happen if we could change their mindset? So we took these women, we split them into 2 groups. We measured them on a variety of things, including their weight, their blood pressure, their body fat, their satisfaction with their job. And then we took half of them and we gave them a simple 15-minute presentation. We gave them this poster and we said, you know, your work is good exercise. It satisfies the Surgeon General's requirements, which are quite simply to accumulate about 30 minutes of moderate physical activity. You should expect to receive those benefits. 15 minutes. We came back 4 weeks later and we measured them again. Not surprisingly, the group that didn't receive this information didn't change. But those that did looked different. They dropped weight. They had a significant reduction in systolic blood pressure. They dropped body fat. And they reported liking their job more. So what does this tell us? Well, to me, it was fascinating that just as a result of a simple 15-minute presentation, the whole game changed, producing a cascade of effects on both their health and their well-being, presumably without even changing behavior. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, how do you know they didn't change their behavior, right? Because that must have been what produced the effects. Well, we know they didn't work anymore. And the room attendants themselves assured us that they didn't join the sports club down the street. But of course, we can't know for sure if they weren't, putting a little more oomph into their making the beds. So this question really plays.
Okay. So, mindset, right? The emphasis was on their work and the impact that their work was having on their well-being. And so when I think about that, I think we can set the tone. So when we did Mentimeter, you were sharing that you are creating a safe space for people to be in. So let's think back to COVID. I know that the team here in Olmsted County absolutely created a safe space for me to come to work. I know that they were dedicated to their job and they were doing everything they could to keep me safe. And I thanked them for that. And so that sets a tone, right? When you tell people, I know that you are doing this and thank you, or I know that you are exercising and you're having a positive impact on your health. You have influence on that. You set the tone and you can change their mindset about what they're experiencing. So just kind of some nuggets to mill on, basically, because I'm going to shift gears on you again, but we're going to circle back around to your teams eventually and we'll talk about this. Okay, so in that shift, we're going to go back to this model. And again, I was talking about the mattering at work component of the model. Now I'm going to talk about protections from harm. And again, very small bullets, but the bullets under protection from harm are prioritize workplace physical and psychological health, enable adequate rest, normalize and support mental health, operationalize diversity, equity, inclusion, and accountability norms, policies, and programs. So that's what the Surgeon General has put under that protection from harm category. So again, I'm not going to touch on all of those bullet points, but we are going to talk about being intentional at this point and how intentionality can support psychological health. It can definitely support physical well-being and health, and it allows for an opportunity for rest. You all experienced an intentional activity when you did the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity, and then you did the visualization piece. Erica was asking you to be intentional, to sit and think about that one thing. And so to be intentional about anything, it needs to be deliberate and purposeful. You need to be consciously present, which means that you can't be thinking about that wonderful place that you went to, but also thinking about your task list and how you're going to get that done tonight when you get home. And you also have to slow down. And if you can do those things, the impact that you have physically is tremendous. And so you thankfully experienced that once already today with that, with both activities that Erica took you through. So now that's not to say that when you go back to work or you are with your teams, that you're like, okay, we're all going to do a visualization activity right now together. Imagine the moans and groans that you'll get from that. So, but what you can do is create a space for intentional behaviors to happen and make that okay. So saying to your team, if you need to take your break by yourself or go have your lunch break by yourself, that's a very okay thing for you to do. If you on your break would like to read a book, by all means, we want you to do that. If fantasy football is your jam, and you need to check your fantasy football team, yep, that's okay. Now, parameter around that, right? Like you can't be doing fantasy football trades and everything all day long. But yeah, if you want to take a break from what you're doing to intentionally focus on something else for a minute, that's good for employee well-being. So, and then you have to help them to identify what is an intentional behavior and then what's acceptable within the culture of your organization. Okay, so now's the time. We're going to walk through a mindful eating activity. So hopefully you have your snack with you. You have your piece of sugary goodness that went around the room. So I want you to take that out. Okay, and so remember, when you're intentional about something, you're slow, right? And you're deliberate. You're purposeful. So as you are getting ready, trying to watch the room here and see that everybody got the bowl. Thank you, Matt, for bringing that. Okay, so what you're going to do for this activity is you're just going to go slow and I'm going to walk you through it. Okay. Take a look at that food item that you have for yourself. What is it wrapped in? What color is it? How does it feel? Is it solid? Is it squishy? How does it smell? Does it smell sweet through the wrapper? And when you're ready, slowly unwrap that piece of sugary goodness. Pay attention to how that wrapper feels in your hands. Are there any marks on the food from the wrapper? Can you see them? Indentations? What color is coming through now that you're unwrapping it? Is there anything written on the inside of the wrapper that you can pay attention to? What does the wrapper sound like as you're taking it off? Whenever you're ready, go ahead and take a bite. Your choice. Bite it, pop that whole thing in there. I don't know how big the candies are. Okay, now you're going to pay attention to what you're experiencing in your mouth. What does it feel like? What parts of your mouth are firing? What parts of your taste buds? Is there a bitterness to it? Is there a smokiness to it? Is it melting? If you bite down on it, is it hard? Is it soft? What can you smell now that it's in your mouth? What does it make you think of? Working your way through that sugary goodness. And as you finish it, again, pay attention to how your mouth feels now that you are finishing that piece. Are you craving more? How does your stomach feel? Did you feel that go down your throat? What does that feel like? Aftertaste, think about that. Okay. And if you only took a bite of it and you feel the need to finish it, go for it. You don't have to be mindful. Just go for it. Okay. So the gist of that activity, again, was that slow, deliberate action. Okay. And some people, mindful eating is easy for them to do and it works for them. Some people, it's a really hard thing to do because, that was so good. Like, I can't eat it that slow. So it requires, again, that intentionality, like you're really going to focus on it. But there are all kinds of ways to be intentional in an activity and really be present in that moment. So next, I am going to ask you to go back to your Mentimeter. And I'm going to ask you how you can intentionally focus for 5 minutes. What can you do? What would resonate for you? What would you enjoy doing? Oh, and I need to switch the slide. Sorry about that. My bad. Okay, so you're starting to populate the screen, which is awesome. So you can see some of the things. And the idea of sharing this with the whole group is that perhaps there's some ideas here for you to take away for yourself. The reason that the question was asked about focusing for 5 minutes intentionally is that there is research that says that stepping away for 5 minutes on every hour has incredible benefits to your emotional well-being, right? So if you can find, as you're talking about finding a quiet space or stepping outside or prayer, if you can, 5 minutes an hour, I'm not going to lie, feels daunting to me, right? But if you can find 5 minutes a couple times in your day, think of the positive impact you'd be having for yourself. Think about the positive impact you'd be having on your team if you said, you know what, take 5. Like literally take 5. It doesn't have to be your scheduled 15-minute break. Take 5. The positive input or impact that you would be having. Ooh, use Alan's resilience room. Yes. Also, going for a walk outside. A couple of you mentioned being outside. If you have not heard of forest bathing is this new up and coming, it's not new, I shouldn't even say that. It's this buzz that's happening now. The concept of it comes from Japan, but the simplistic version of it, because if forest bathing feels kind of hokey to you when you hear that, the simplistic version of it is going outside for an intentional walk. So as slow as you ate that candy is as slow as you are when you're outside. And again, it's feeling the earth underneath your feet. What does it sound like? What are you seeing in the sky and all around you? I participated in a forest bathing activity and I saw ants. Like, who pays attention to ants? They were very busy. So it forces you to slow down and be present in your space. So when you talk about going outside for a walk, this is not a power walk to like burn all that stress off. This is, you know, go outside and just focus on your surroundings. That's where the benefit comes from. And closing your eyes and taking a breath, absolutely. That's a very easy thing that we can all do. Okay. So takeaways for your team. We have just a couple minutes left here. So again, these were our three main categories that we covered today: finding purpose at work, setting the tone for a positive mindset, and how to be intentional at work. Hopefully you have thought a lot about how you can do that, but let's also think about how you can take this back to your teams. So we're going to go back to Menti, and I'm going to get that question switched over for you. Okay, so what can you do with your team to support mental health and well-being? Okay, a lot of really great responses here. I will challenge those of you who put listen on here. Yes, but listen intentionally. Shut off your phones, put them on silent. Silence your email pings, whatever it is, like focus on them. When you focus on people, it helps them to feel heard. So that intentionality will serve you well there as well. And that's that be present in the conversations. Absolutely. Create a psychologically safe space. Yep. Encouraging time away. Listen, show empathy, create flexible work environment, direct them to appropriate resources when needed. All great answers. So these are things, again, that you all can take back with you. I don't obviously know all of your work environments and the things that you do and how you operate within your facilities. So I put together a list of ideas. I wanted you to share yours first. So that way, if there was duplicate. But here's a couple of things that I came up with to share with you. Do an activity with them, to talk about why they do what they do. If you don't have access to Mentimeter, that's okay. Put a Post-it up on the wall, like one of those big white Post-its, and then have them put Post-its on it, right? Colored Post-its, just to say, tell us why. And you don't have to have the whole team together. It can just exist in that space. And then as people go by, they can put a Post-it up. Super easy to do. Again, helping them to focus on their purpose when they're at the work site. When Erica was talking, there was a question about how do you support somebody who maybe is struggling mentally or emotionally. You can bring out mental health first aid training for your staff. What this does is the concept is similar to CPR first aid. So when somebody is trained in mental health first aid, it's not that they are the care provider to that person for their mental well-being. What they are is somebody who can see that somebody is potentially struggling and say, when you say, I'm here for you, and Erica was like, I'm here for you, but then she walks away. You can say, I'm here for you, and I know of some resources that maybe could help you. And then you point them in the right direction. So you listen to them with intentionality and then you help them to find some resources that work for them. So mental health first aid is a great resource that you can develop within your organization. We started this in Olmsted County, and it's about a 7-hour training. And again, it's like CPR first aid. So you get trained or certified, and then that carries with you for 3 years. And then you just get recertified, which means that you just get a refresher on the information. But it's a great tool to have for your for anyone on your team to be trained. Be aware of any available resources that you have. There was talk about your employee assistance programs. Your HR team likely knows of resources that you have. Perhaps you have a fabulous wellness team at your organization. Lean into them. Look at what your health plan can provide. And again, your HR team will be able to explain to you the resources in the health plan and how you can support people. Ask your leaders or champions what matters to them. And I said in here, set goals or intentions for the year. When you say to somebody, what's your goal for the year? Do you see like the deer in the headlights, right? Like that's such a big question. Keep it simple, keep it realistic, keep it easy so that that's not another stressor for them. And just another really quick story about a coworker. He's a basketball coach, and his girls team there, I think in 4th grade, they're not very good. They've not won a game, right? And so they were playing a very difficult team, and the score was 25-4 at halftime. So they're not going to win this game. And he said to the girls, what are we going to do? What is our goal for the second half of the game? And the girls said, we're going to win. And he said, let's be honest, we're not going to win. We haven't won a game yet this season, and we're too far behind. So what's another goal? And they said, they're not going to score anymore. And he said, okay, let's be honest. They scored 25 points in a half. They're going to score again. So they came up with that they were going to hold them to 35 points. They weren't going to let them score more than 35 points. At the end of that game, the score was 33-8. Those 4th graders celebrated like they had won the whole tournament, right? So, and that was they were honest, and they set a goal that they understood, and it was easy for them to accomplish it. So think about that. Goals don't have to be this scary thing. And then the last bullet that's on here is starting a stretching program. Stretching is obviously good for the body physically, for the work that you all do. But if you can stretch together with a group, that creates a connection point as well. So we have utilized this within our facilities and building operations team, and within another team in our organization, where they start their day stretching. And it might only be 3 people because of the shifts or the start times for work. But if they stretch together, they get that physical benefit, but they also get that connection point with their team before they all go to their different spaces and places to work. Okay. So with that,
in many ways, it kind of boils down to this notion of just keeping all of us safe and functional as an organization. It is, in fact, what you do. I think it's unfortunate in many ways that there isn't a lot of credit given to the work that is done in facilities management. It's kind of taken for granted, especially when the work is done very well.
okay. And if you have not ever experienced a presentation with Alan, he always ends his presentations with a song. So here you go.
Your work is very important, without which we cannot do. You often drop what you're doing whenever we call on you, and you keep on working, even when others are not here. Keeping all safe and functional, and oftentimes without a single chill. Keep your nose to the grindstone, working hard every day. Maybe looking forward to the weekend, and to spend a little hard-earned pay. Then you come back working, even when others are not here. Keeping all safe and functional, and oftentimes without a single chill. hail the working men and women just like you, working hard behind the scenes, just doing what you do. You keep on working, even when others are not here. Keeping us safe and functional, and oftentimes without so much as a cheer. Keeping us safe and functional, and hear this as one big ass cheer.
So with that, I thank you for your time today. And here's my contact information. If you would like to reach out to me, I'm happy to answer questions, share any experiences that we have or resources. And if there's time and you want to ask questions, I'm open to that as well.
Thank you, Amy. Does anyone have any questions for her?
I'm just curious what resources her role provides at Olmsted for mental health kind of activities. We have a wellness coordinator here that does maybe a little bit different. I'm not sure. Ours is through Health Partners, and I don't know if she can hear what I'm saying or not, but just curious what your role is with mental health in Olmsted. What do you do? What resource do you provide?
Sure. So at Olmsted County, we have 2.5 FTEs allocated to employee well-being. And most of our efforts are placed in that physical well-being. Again, the nutrition, physical activity, sleep. But then we also have this emotional well-being realm, and we place a lot of emphasis on that. And so I think that that's what you're asking for very specifically. That's where Alan comes in. Alan's time is dedicated specifically to the emotional well-being of our staff. He is very passionate about helping people to find their why, their purpose. He does that through presentations. He does small group trainings, like cohorts, where he helps them to walk that process so that they can identify their why and their purpose. He does presentations like this, right? So that's one aspect of it. We also focus a lot of our energy on secondary traumatic stress. And if you're not familiar with that, I won't dig too much into it, but what we focus on is getting people to feel comfortable with saying, today's a hard day. And for that to be okay to say, and for the rest of the team to be okay that somebody's having a hard day, but also how do you build resilience, like what we talked about today, all the different ways that you can do that so that you can have a hard day, but you can bounce back from it. So we use things like our employee assistance program. We provide opportunities to just stop for a little bit. The resilience room was brought up. There's a space where we do have a physical space where people can go and find that quiet space, because that doesn't exist for all of our teams in the more open concept types of spaces. We certainly are building, again, that the language and that comfort level, that culture to talk about mental well-being in the positives and the hard days, right? So it's okay to say, today's a great day, right? Or this was awesome, and to celebrate our successes. But it's also okay to say, today was a really hard day. So again, that culture work that we're doing.
Yep, they're actually looking. Good program, but I should tell you, this is Lori. She's our assistant HR director. I asked her to just stop and sit in. Hi, Lori.
Hey.
I don't want to keep Alan in line. But we have a wellness program manager on site, and she's wonderful, but she's with our partners, and we do a lot of incentives and that kind of thing.
I think a lot of places are.
The other thing that Amy probably won't take credit for is she is our green thumb in Olmsted County, so she actually organizes community gardens for our entire county. So we have gardens where essentially as an employee, you can speak for a space. She provides all the plants, seeds, everything like that. We provide all the planting beds, the water, the equipment, and people can grow vegetables or produce. So on the breaks, lunches, stuff like that, we have a ton of garden plots.
Nice. Anyone else? All right, let's clap really loud to let her hear us say thank you.